President Trump just now signing that executive order to gut the Department of Education. Let's bring in...
On March 20th, the president signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. The Department of Education today is in charge of federally funding public education, protecting student rights of at-risk or low-income students, and managing student loans. It is not in charge of curriculums at schools, which is already largely decided by schools individually. The president has said that these rights will still be protected and simply become the responsibilities of other government departments. Since it was opened, many Republican officials opposed the Department of Education, arguing that it brings too much bureaucracy into public education and that it encourages unnecessary government spending. Opposing views, however, state that the funding would not cease or go down and may even become more expensive under other government branches. Regardless of views, the president cannot pass the order without a majority rule from Congress. But how would this affect students if it did pass? The first and foremost effects that this would have is bringing funding for schools to the states. Colorado specifically has a projected spending to be around $10 billion for the 2025 to 2026 school year. This level, however, is considered below average by $3.5 to $4.1 billion. And eliminating the federal funding may only serve to further lower the quality of education for students. We interviewed Ms. Castor on more in-depth information on how this would affect students.
What's Donald Trump trying to do? Well, the federal government as a whole is currently trying to reduce the amount of power that the federal government has over education to give power back to the states. The states currently already have quite a lot of power in what they teach, but there are a lot of federal programs that are dictated federally. Who this might affect is going to differ depending on the district and which programs people are a part of. So if you are reliant on 504s or on IEPs, we may see something coming soon where we may no longer have accommodations. As for funding, funding is dictated for schools based on property taxes, federal funding, and a few other places, but the main two are property taxes and federal funding. Right now, with the Department of Education being stripped of many powers, funding is also being stripped, meaning that the funding from the federal government is being reduced or eliminated depending on certain instances. And these instances may lead to less money that we have, leading to eliminated or reduced programs. This could mean that we could cut busing and transportation and free and reduced lunches. There are a lot of what ifs right now.
We also asked Ms. Castor for her own personal opinion on this matter.
I do not support this because schools are mandated. You legally are required to get some form of schooling, whether that's homeschooling, private schooling, or public schooling, and many people rely heavily on the public schooling system. And so if we reduce some of these programs, this will see an impact on people who are most vulnerable, such as students with accommodations and students below the poverty line.
This has been Jackson, Noah, and Lex reporting for CVTV.